Hello everybody and welcome back to CM42 TV, and this, my friends, is episode number 1 of Random Wrestler Recollection. Yes, the best idea, the most awe-inspiring idea involving wrestling since Eric Bischoff introduced the Elimination Chamber. That's right, here on CM42 TV I am going to reach into the DVD RW box. The story behind this was in the wee introduction video that I posted a number of days ago, or whenever I posted that, or whenever I post this. So go check that out for some history behind this idea, but basically inside this box we have some names of some random wrestlers. I'm going to reach into here, pull out a random wrestler's name, and give some wrestling fan related memories of that wrestler. So here we go. This is the first time I'm ever going to do this. When, you know, wherever you are around the world, whenever you go on your local game show, whether it be The Chase or Mastermind or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or whatever that is, when the question is asked, what was the first wrestler that CM42 TV discussed on the channel, this will be the answer. So here we go. Who's it going to be? Who's going to kick off our series? This person right here, of Random Wrestler Recollection. I'm testing my knowledge of wrestlers and seeing what memories I have as a wrestling fan. So here we go. It is oh god, it is it is Eugene. Yes, a very interesting one to start off with. That's fine, it's meant to be random, it's meant to be obscure, it's meant to challenge me. Obscure memories of Eugene. Oh man, why on earth did I write Eugene? Why did I put him in the box? Random wrestling memories of Eugene. Right, okay, so Eugene was a character that was played by a guy called Nick Dinsmore, I believe, was his name, and I believe he was actually a very talented worker, a really good wrestler. And he was an OVW, and they called him up as a sort of, as a gimmick character, a mentally challenged young man by the name of Eugene, who was Eric Bischoff's nephew, which is kind of funny because I just referenced Eric Bischoff about the Elimination Chamber. One of the greatest ideas ever was the Elimination Chamber, and then maybe one of the worser ideas was Eugene. But it's funny, I've just kind of been watching through some old WWE stuff because I like doing that. I feel like life is better when you watch some old wrestling, you know? When you're, you know, stressed out or you're tired or something, what can cheer you up, for me anyway, is watch some old wrestling, or some new wrestling. Any wrestling will do. But, so when the WWE Network first came out, I started going back and watching lots of old stuff from my childhood and stuff. And then I just kind of kept going, you know, and I kind of watched through some old 2004 stuff recently. And it was kind of around that Eugene time. So I really just, this is all kind of fresh to me because Eugene became a character in that show a matter of months ago when I was watching it, you know, on Raw every week. And when he came in as Eric Bischoff's nephew, he was like literally a big part of the show. He was a main focus on the show. He was a top guy for a matter of months anyway. I believe there's a pay-per-view around the summertime of 2004. Triple H was champion, or Benoit was champion, or it may have been a bit after that. Yeah, Benoit was champion. Might have been Bad Blood or something like that. 2004. It was Benoit versus Triple H. So it couldn't have been Bad Blood because I think that was Kane that wrestled Benoit. But Triple H and Benoit were wrestling, and Eugene was like involved in the main event of the pay-per-view, you know, so he like affected the match, you know. So he was a big part of the show, and as he should have been, because he was getting, you know, huge reactions from the fans. And this is because he was like a comedy character, you know. It's before he really started like impersonating people. He had that segment where someone was making fun of him, I think it was the coach, and then The Rock came out. And I always remember one of my funniest memories as a child watching wrestling was when The Rock was having this segment with Eugene, and The Rock was saying, "Who is the most electrifying man in sports entertainment?" And he put the mic to Eugene and he'd go, "The Rock!" And then The Rock would go, "And who is your favourite superstar of all time?" And he put the mic to Eugene and he went, "Triple H!" And they set up this big thing between Eugene and Triple H, which ended up being so popular. Like, I couldn't believe when I was watching it back recently. Like, I had no intention of watching it back. I didn't go, you know what, I really want to visit again, the Eugene stuff from 2004. Just kind of did. It was kind of in the timeline of what I was going for at the time, you know. And honestly, man, not only, because I mean, back in the day, it kind of happens now, I suppose, but back in like that sort of time of Raw and even SmackDown, there was like a story that kind of developed every episode, you know. Culminating at pay-per-views, I guess, but it was like every individual Raw or every individual SmackDown had a plot, you know, and I guess it kind of does now, but maybe because it's 3 hours Raw and it's like maybe it's just less thought out, I don't know, but there just was something about old school Raw where it was like every segment meant something and it built on it, and it ended up, you know, we were still in the same situation, you know, at the end of the show, but it developed and you were more excited for the pay-per-view. So a lot of this stuff with Eugene getting involved in like the Triple H stuff, it affected Triple H's current plans, you know, and Triple H was in everything back then, you know, and whether he was wrestling Batista, Randy Orton, Edge, Benoit, Kane, you know, it was affecting that, and sort of evolution was kind of messing about with Eugene. And then there was one thing where I loved William Regal being like Eugene's sort of carer, you know, and kind of like his manager and his sort of like the guy that looked after him, and he was kind of like a father figure, because that turned him babyface. You know, Regal was a really sort of mean heel. He'd done the Un-Americans thing and of course the Alliance thing a few years earlier, and no one really was a big fan of Regal, and I'm sure he had some drug problems back then as well. And he kind of was back and stuff and kind of had nothing to do. And then Eric Bischoff said, I've got a special project for you. I want you to manage a wrestler. And it's my nephew, it's Eugene. And like, Regal was like, I remember he called him like a window licker and stuff. Totally inappropriate and too far. And you could never get away with it. You couldn't get away with any of this character nowadays. Rightfully so. But back then they just didn't care. Like Vince using the N-word on TV. So many like racial things and like sort of really inappropriate things. Like having a live sex celebration and stuff like that. Like you can never find that anywhere near wrestling now. And Eugene was one of the top sort of projects that you think, how did they get away with that? You know what I mean? Just bonkers. But then Regal and Eugene had this really nice friendship, you know, and they had this really nice relationship that was really nice to watch. It was kind of like a movie, you know, when you see two characters that are total opposites but they get on. It's always really nice, you know. A bit like in Bruges, you know, with Colin Firth and Brendan Gleeson. Both characters, look at that, on the top of my head. Both characters just being totally different and in the same situation for different reasons, but, you know, it kind of clicks and you kind of like watching them together. That was a bit like Eugene and Regal, you know. And they became tag champs and they got really popular and stuff. But as the Regal stuff kind of fizzled out and the Triple H stuff kind of fizzled out, Eugene kind of fizzled out. He had a wee thing with Kurt Angle, I believe, in 05, where Eugene stole his medal. And then like 07 sort of time, he was totally different. He was like kidding on, he was a superhero and he'd cut his hair and stuff like that. And he kind of lost his sort of charm a wee bit, lost his edge. I don't know why, because he was a good worker. He did the whole impersonating thing. He'd do the stunner and the rock bottom and stuff, which kind of was a bit daft because those are like some of the biggest moves in wrestling history, you know. And then, you know, they kind of used the sort of transitional moves from Eugene. Obviously not done as well as The Rock would do them, or Stone Cold would do them, or even Hogan doing like the leg drop and the boot and stuff he did. But the Eugene stuff is really funny and it's really good, and it's like, it just shows you if one thing clicks and one thing takes off, there's so many possibilities, you know, and a lot of things have a lot of potential with it. So I'd recommend checking some of it out because there's some good wee moments. There's some bits where you watch it and like JR and King on commentary, they're so good at... People say that JR and King are the best commentary team, and that's 100% true. But not because King's funny and JR has a good voice and had some memorable calls. That's not the reason they're the best ever. It's the chemistry they have, and it's how good they are at keeping the listener and the viewer sort of engaged for the full match, right? So a match could be going on for half an hour between, let's say, Regal and Eugene versus La Resistance or something, like a team back in the day, Christian and Tom Cole or whoever it was, that was a team back in the day, like 2003-04 sort of time. And you didn't really care for the match, you just had it on, it was like one of the matches on the show, you just were watching. But JR and King really kept you interested in every single character, and they said things that the viewer, you know, was thinking, and that's kind of what I think Mauro Ronaldo has now in NXT, is he says things that you think when you watch the show. So when a character like Eugene was there, that was very sort of like non-realistic and unrealistic, sorry, and might have been a bit sort of like against the grain and not really what we're used to, JR and King kept you invested. So there's big props to them for not only helping the character get over, but big props to Eugene, Nick Dinsmore, from doing such a great job with such a daft gimmick, you know. When you think about it, how on earth, one, did they get away with it? One, two, how did they, you know, keep it entertaining for so long? And how did they do such a good job? And that's because Nick Dinsmore obviously got it, he got the business, he got the part, he got, you know, the character, and he did a great job. So thumbs up for Eugene. That was a 10-minute video talking about Eugene from WWE. This, my friends, this series, Random Wrestler Recollection, is going to be It's going to be interesting for sure, because I'm going to have to talk about more obscure wrestlers. So could there be a more obscure or a more random one to kick off with? I'm not sure. But that was episode number 1 of Random Wrestler Recollection. I loved Eugene when I was younger, but he was never one of my favourites or whatever. But always thought he did a good job. And now being like more obviously understanding of the business and stuff like that, you can look back on that and thinking what a great job he did, and how respected you have to kind of look at Eugene and Nick Dinsmore for doing such a good job and getting over so much. So there you go. Thank you very much for watching Random Wrestler Recollection. That's exactly what we're looking for, something totally random. And until next time, take care of yourselves, enjoy some random wrestling, and I'll speak to you all next time. Thank you.